What's up? Uh, I filmed this video before, and it was up on my channel, but for some fucking reason, the audio stopped recording at about the 3 minute or so mark. I don't know why that happened, but I couldn't fix it, so I'm just gonna have to do this whole update again, which is too bad because Uh, I have a lot of movies and I have to go through them again. So very quickly, let me just get into it. I mean, I was cut off talking about Immortals. Haven't seen it yet, but I picked that up because I wanted to check it out. And I was talking about, I think I didn't like the 300 Blu-ray because I didn't think it looked very good. Because when I was watching that Blu-ray, I noticed that there was a lot of pixelation. Okay, what I mean by that is that you would see someone in a form, like you would have like a close up of something, and it would be like crisp and clear, but everything in the background was all fuzzy and pixelated, and I didn't like that. I didn't think it looked very good. Now I don't know if anyone else who has seen 300 on Blu-ray uh, has noticed that, or maybe it was just me. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I didn't think it was very good. Um, which is too bad because I would think that that movie would look great on Blu-ray, and I thought that it would, but it doesn't. So I'm probably gonna end up selling that Blu-ray and just getting the 2 disc collector's edition DVD. 300 because I do like that movie. So yeah, that was Immortals, and this isn't in the same order because I moved the stack around, so it's not in the same order as it was before. So next up is Unstoppable. Denzel Washington and Chris Pine. Very fun action thriller. I saw this in the theater. Had a lot of fun with it. And funny thing is about this movie, which I thought was kind of cool, was that Jeff Wincott, the guy from Mission of Justice and Martial Outlaw, he's actually in this. He plays Chris Pine's brother, which I thought was kind of cool. Like when I was watching the movie in the theater, I was like, "Holy shit, that's that's fucking Jeff Wincott. I'm probably the only one who knows who he is. There was nobody in the theater, just me and a couple of and like 2 other people. Um, but the Unstoppable, fun film, looks good on Blu-ray. Um, very enjoyable film. Recommend it if you haven't seen it. Next up is Eagle Eye, which is a film. I rented this when it came out on DVD a long time ago. I saw some of the film. I think I got maybe 30 minutes into it, but I didn't finish watching it, and I had to take the movie back the next day. Uh, so I never finished watching. I mean, I know what's going on. I know how it ends and everything like that, but I want to check this film out again. Haven't seen it yet, but I liked what I saw so far, and it wasn't a. I know it's probably gets a lot of hate, but I remember liking, what I saw. I didn't finish watching it, but I remember it being pretty decent. Next up is The Town with Ben Affleck, starring and also directed by Ben Affleck. Has the extended cut of the film. It also has a theatrical cut, and what was cool is that Ben Affleck actually did a commentary on both versions of the film, which was cool. And I saw the extended cut of the film. It is a little longer. It's already a long movie, but the extended cut is it's 153 minutes. So it's about 30 minutes or so longer than the theatrical cut, which is 125 minutes. A very good movie, very fun crime thriller. Ben Affleck does a really good job acting and directing. Very enjoyable film. I was really surprised when I first saw this movie. And even though the extended cut is long, the movie didn't really feel long, at least to me. It didn't feel that long. I mean, I still thought I went at a pretty good pace, despite all the other uh, added scenes. I mean, the extended cut is basically Ben Affleck's director's cut of the film. Um, but it is longer, the extended cut, but it still moves at a decent pace, I thought. So yeah, that was The Town. Next up is a film I haven't seen yet, but I kind of wanted to check this out because this movie kind of just sort of came and went, and that is Rescue Dawn, starring Christian Bale and Steve Zahn. I heard some good things about this film. It's kind of those movies that just sort of disappeared. I remember I heard about this when it first came out, but once it was out, like, really just kind of went nowhere. I'm sure this movie flopped. But it was on sale at Walmart, and I figured, I'll pick it up. I wanted to see it. I'll check it out. And overall, I like Christian Bale as an actor. I mean, I don't love the new Batman films. In fact, I would say that The Dark Knight Rises looks like a shitty movie. But overall, he's a good actor. If you want to see a great Christian Bale movie, check this one out. Equilibrium. That's one of his better films. The Machinist. Great performance in that film. And Rescue Dawn, I wanted to give this one a watch. It's basically it's a war movie. Christian Bale plays a guy whose plane gets shot down, and he becomes a prisoner of war and tries to escape. So that's Rescue Dawn. Looking forward to checking that out. Next up is a film I've heard mixed things on. I've heard some good things. I've heard some bad things, but wanted to give my opinion on it. So I picked it up again. This was on sale on Walmart also, and that is Inception. Since I just spoke about the Batman films, is the guy who directed them, Christopher Nolan. He directed this, so we'll see. We'll give this a watch. Who knows? I might like it. I might hate it. Next up is a film I grew up with. I used to watch it all the time when I was a kid. I had it recorded on a VHS tape. And just a very fun sort of comic book action adventure flick, and that is The Phantom. Definitely Billy Zane's best film, especially considering the state of his career now. Like, I saw him on a fucking Sci-Fi Channel movie a little while ago called Leprechaun's Revenge. It has nothing to do with the other Leprechaun movies. This is a completely different thing. And he was wearing this like ridiculous looking fucking hat. It's like a hat with like the tip of it's like flipped up like that. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Billy Zane, what happened, man? Not like he was in that many great movies to begin with. I mean, this I still say is probably his best, or one of his best roles. But yeah, The Phantom, just a fun action adventure flick. I used to watch, like I said, I watched it all the time when I was a kid, and I picked up the Blu-ray because it was cheap, and it was easier to get a hold of than the DVD. The DVD's out of print and kind of hard to find. But next up is a film I really enjoyed, and that film is The Fighter. Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. Very good sports drama. I like sports dramas. My favorite film of 2011 was Warrior. And this one's good. It's this one's actually based on a true story of a boxer named Mickey Ward, and played by Mark Wahlberg. And Christian Bale plays, I think, like his half brother named Dickie Eklund, who's also like a crackhead. And pretty solid job. I think Mark Wahlberg did a solid job in this. It's definitely better than, say, what was that? Yeah, Max Payne and The Happening. This is definitely a better film. He's good in this. I mean, he's not a great actor, but he was good in this. And Christian Bale, who actually won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for this movie, he was really good in this as well. I mean, great performance. I mean, I thought he deserved to win the Oscar. He was great in this. And speaking of Mark Wahlberg, I would just like to say that Mark Wahlberg should be recognized as an American hero, because nobody ever talks about all the 9/11s that didn't happen because Mark Wahlberg was on their flight. And that is a fact. And I will even go on record and state that Donnie Wahlberg is a Muslim terrorist. That was not my joke. I stole that joke. I actually stole from TV. If you thought it was funny, great. If I offended you for making a joke about 9/11, I'm sorry. It's not my joke, though. I stole it from TV. In fact, I got this set up right now to show you guys where I got the joke from the show called Tosh.0, which is on Comedy Central. And I wanted to show it to you guys.
He would have landed safely if Mark Wahlberg was there. That's a fact. Mark Wahlberg should be celebrated as a hero. See, people don't talk about how many 9/11s didn't happen because Mark Wahlberg was on their flight. I'm going to go on record right now as saying Donnie Wahlberg is a Muslim terrorist. God, it's good to be back. High fashion.
Set that back there. See? It's funnier when he said it, isn't it? But I just thought that'd be funny since I had a movie with Mark Wahlberg in it. Next movie is The Dead, which is a zombie movie. I'd heard a lot about it. It's the first full-length feature film to be made in South Africa. I believe South Africa. Yeah. It's a decent zombie movie. I mean, it's a more of a throwback to the old school, you know, limbering, really slow moving zombies. I mean, overall, the film, for the most part, I thought was just okay. Really great, all practical, you know, gore and makeup effects. Just overall, it was an okay film. And then it has a really crappy, downbeat, depressing ending. And I didn't think that this looked particularly good. Especially the stuff during the day looked great. The stuff at night looked bad. It looked grainy and muddy, like, again, fuzzy and kind of hard to see. And overall, you know, it's not the best zombie movie of the year, you know. So, I mean, it's worth one watch, but, you know, it's okay. I'm glad I saw it, but I'll probably never watch this again, so that's going to be for sale. Next up is a film that I'd heard about and wanted to check it out, and overall it was a really solid film, and that was Dark City. Really solid sci-fi sort of mystery thriller. I remember when I was a kid and this movie came out, I was at my local movie theater and I saw the poster. It was in this little area where they advertise coming attractions, and they have like posters of films, and I saw the original poster art with the guy on the thing, like this, and it said Dark City, and I was always curious, like, what is that? You know, and I never saw the movie until when I bought this. And overall, I really enjoyed the film. I thought very solid Blu-ray. It is a very visual film. You know, they spend a lot of money, but there's these big, huge, dark sets, and very solid movie. I really enjoyed it. It sort of kept me guessing until I guess the big twist towards the end. I would say I would recommend checking out the director's cut if you have not seen the film, because I feel the theatrical cut gives too much away, and that's not really the director's fault. Alex Proyas, who also directed The Crow, directed Dark City, the studio kind of made him add this voiceover at the beginning of the film to sort of explain things, because they thought people might not know what's going on. But I think that's a good thing, because it's sort of, you know, because it's a mystery. You know, they gave too much away in the theatrical cut. And next up is a film I saw in the theater that was okay, and I got this for about $8. And that is Unknown with Liam Neeson. Not a great film, but a decent thriller. Could have been a lot better. I didn't pay a whole lot for it, so I think I paid like $8. So for $8, you know, I'll take it. I like Liam Neeson, but the film itself was, well, it was okay. Next up is a classic, one of the best films of all time, and that is The Shawshank Redemption. Great, great movie, great performances. Um, one of probably one of the best Stephen King adaptations. Just a wonderful film. If you have not seen The Shawshank Redemption, definitely check it out. And I got that at Walmart too for about $8, I believe. Next up is a film that I had heard about. I wanted to see it, and I found it, I believe, at my local Blockbuster for about $13. So I figured, yeah, I'll get it. I want to check it out. It stars Carl Urban, who's going to be in. He's going to be the new Judge Dredd in the upcoming film Dredd, and that film is Pathfinder, the unrated edition. Overall, solid flick. There isn't a whole lot to the movie. It's just, stuff happens, and Carl Urban has to kill a bunch of people. But pretty fun, entertaining flick. I like Carl Urban. I thought he did a pretty decent job. I mean, it wasn't a great film. I would say I like this better than Conan the Hawaiian, or I'm sorry, Conan the Barbarian, which was also directed by Marcus Nispel, who directed this. Definitely like this a lot better. I thought Carl Urban did a better job than Jason Momoa. So yeah, that's a pretty solid flick. Next up is a film that I know a lot of people didn't like when it first came out. I saw it in the theater. And overall, it was a decent film. I didn't like it as much. No, sorry, fucked up. I liked it more than the third film in this franchise. And, well, that is Terminator Salvation. This has the director's cut. It also has the theatrical cut of the film. Overall, I enjoyed the film. I thought, Christian Bale did okay as John Connor. Although, the thing is, John Connor is really not given a whole lot to do in the movie. In fact, for a big chunk of the movie, it basically follows Sam Worthington's character. So, he might as well be, the star of the film. And really, I felt, Christian Bale didn't really have anything to do until about the end of the movie. And that's about it. I mean, yeah, it's PG-13. I mean, it says right here the director's cut is R, but I doubt it. But I think I would say I like this more than Terminator 3 because at least this was something different. Terminator 3 was just a rehash of Terminator 2. It was just a lame rehash of Terminator 2. I mean, I have Terminator 3. I can kind of watch it as a time waster. But I just thought the jokes were fucking stupid. And again, it's just a crappy remake of Terminator 2, pretty much. And, Christina Loken, who played the TX, she didn't really seem like that much of an upgrade from the T-1000. Does not, hold a candle to Robert Patrick. It just didn't seem like that much of a step up. But, this film, it has a lot of problems, but at least they did something different, and it was fun overall. They still don't have lasers. What the fuck happened to the lasers? Didn't they have lasers? Have they not gotten those yet? I don't... They still using bullets. What happened to the fucking lasers? I remember they used lasers in the first two movies in the future. Next up is Behind Enemy Lines, starring Owen Wilson, Gene Hackman. I've been wanting to check this one out for a while, and when I saw it for sale at Walmart, decided to pick it up. Probably gonna avoid the sequels, especially the third one, which stars Mr. Kennedy. Kennedy. I mean, that guy's a decent wrestler, but that's got to be one of the most annoying fucking gimmicks ever. Every time he comes out, he has to do that. Oh, now it's Mr. Anderson because he's with TNA. But anyway, that's That's behind enemy lines. Uh, I haven't seen it yet. Looking forward to checking that one out. And last of the Blu-rays is Watchmen, the director's cut. A very good movie, but it is very depressing. Especially when you find out what happens to this guy. He was like Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach was great. He was my favorite character, but even before that, the movie just kind of bummed me out. It is a depressing movie, but I can still sort of enjoy it for what it is. I understand sort of what they were going for. I haven't read the comic, and I know sort of some of the differences between the comic and the movie, though, because I did a little research on it. All right, now I'm going to get to the DVDs. I'm going to start with the TV shows first. Last time I did the TV shows last, but I'm going to do the TV shows first this time. First up is a show I picked up because I'm a fan of this actor, and I heard this show was pretty good, and I wanted to check it out, and that is Castle, the complete first season. A whole new chapter in crime solving. Very solid show. I actually really like this one. I found this at Walmart for $20. So I decided to pick it up, I figured, what the hell, I wanted to see the show. And I like Nathan Fillion. He does a great job. He plays a guy named Richard Rick Castle. He's a crime novelist who just killed off his most popular character, Derek Storm, in his last book. So he's basically run out of ideas, I guess. And what happens is that somebody in the first episode, in the pilot episode, was killing people in the same manner that Rick Castle killed off some characters in some of his books. So the police call him in to sort of help out, and he has this idea to basically join the police force, sort of tag along, especially with this woman right here, Stana Katic. Oh, no, not Stana. Is it Stana Katic? The fuck was her name? I'm sorry. It's Stana Katic. Yeah, Stana Katic, I believe is her name. He sort of teams up with her, and each episode is like someone else was murdered. Rick Castle sort of tags along and actually ends up kind of helping solve some of the murders. And it's very funny. Some of the stuff that Nathan Fillion says is actually really funny. If you like Nathan Fillion, it's definitely worth checking out. The show's actually still on right now. It's in its 4th season. I'll definitely be picking up the later seasons because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very fun show. So yeah, I really recommend it. If you like Nathan Fillion and if you like sort of murder mystery cop shows, definitely check it out. It's a solid show. Next up is another show starring Nathan Fillion. Only this one didn't last that long, and that is Firefly. I actually just started watching this a little while ago. I got through the first 3 episodes. Very fun sci-fi sort of. It's like a western in space. It's got some funny moments. Nathan Fillion does a good job. The cast does great. Adam Baldwin is good, but I kind of found his character is a bit of a dick sometimes. He's kind of an asshole. I mean, he's good, but his character is just a complete asshole sometimes. And another thing too, this girl right here, I think her name is Jewel Straight. I recognize this girl. When I was a kid, I don't know if anyone remembers this show. On Nickelodeon, there used to be this TV show called Space Cases. It was basically Star Trek for kids. And I remember she was on that show. I remembered her. I recognized her, and I looked it up, and it is her. She was the chick on that show, Space Cases, that had the rainbow hair. So I thought that was weird that she was on that show, and then she's on this one. It also reminded me of how awesome Nickelodeon used to be back then. But yeah, it's Firefly. I like the movie Serenity as well. I saw the movie first, and I didn't know that this show existed until after I saw the movie. But yeah, it's a pretty solid TV show so far. The other night I finished with disc 1, so I'm gonna finish watching this up. maybe this weekend. So yeah, that's Firefly, the complete series. Next up is another show that sadly didn't make it past its first season, which is too bad because it is a really solid show, and that is The Flash, the complete series. Saw this, not really the show, but I saw the pilot, which I believe was 2 episodes in one. And I remember they released that on VHS. Doesn't have the length here, but I believe the pilot was pretty long. It was like a 2-parter. Or maybe they aired it as like a 2-hour premiere, but they released that on VHS. They also released the 2 episodes with the Trickster on VHS, put together, edited together. It had the Trickster and then the Trial of the Trickster, I believe. Yeah, the Trickster and Trial of the Trickster were edited together. And those 2 VHS tapes were at a local video rental place called New Release Video that I used to go to all the time when I was a kid and rent movies. And I rented those 2 VHS tapes, and that's how I got into this show. And I didn't know it was a show. I actually thought that they were like movies. And that was the first one, and then the ones with the Trickster was like the sequel. Of course, as I got older, I found out that this was actually a TV show. And I've only seen 2 other episodes. I think I've seen episode 2 of this show. It's the one where the scientist was kidnapping and experimenting on homeless people. I believe that was the 2nd episode. And then the one with Captain Cold. I've seen those 2. I saw those on YouTube. But, there's a ton of other episodes here that I have not seen yet. So, and I look forward to checking this out. So, yeah, that's The Flash, the complete series. Alright, these 2 I'm going to show together because it's 2 seasons of the same show. It's a show that I've been watching since the beginning, since it first premiered. Oddly enough, it's a show I started watching because it was on right after Smallville. Yes, I do like Smallville. It's a guilty pleasure. Before, I used to really like it. Now, as I've gotten older, it's a guilty pleasure. Even though there's still some episodes and there's still some stuff about that show that I think are really good. There's also a lot of episodes about that show. There's also a lot of episodes of that show that I think are really bad. But even like the bad episodes of that show, I can watch because I think they're hilarious. It's like a train wreck. I just can't look away. Yeah, well, I like Smallville. Nobody's perfect. But because of that show, I got into this show, which I do think is a better show. It has consistently better episodes. And that show is Supernatural. And this is Season 1. And Season 2. Very fun show. It's basically about 2 brothers. One night, their mother is murdered by a demon, and their father, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who was in The Losers, and he also plays the comedian in Watchmen. Their father basically takes them on the road and trains them to become hunters, which is basically fighters against supernatural entities, ghosts, monsters, demons, stuff like a Wendigo. There's an episode where they fight a killer scarecrow. There's an episode where they fight vampires, stuff like that. That's basically the show. They just go from town to town fighting different creatures, and ghosts and stuff like that. It's a very solid show. Overall, I think that the 2 lead guys have really solid chemistry together. You sort of come to, I believe that these guys, are brothers, even though they're the same age. And Jensen Ackles is supposed to be the older brother. They look like they're the same age, so they kind of fucked up on that. Because if Jensen Ackles is supposed to be older, shouldn't he be like 40 years old? Because at the beginning of the series, Jared Padalecki was a baby. So shouldn't Jensen Ackles be like 40? Because he was like 10 years old when their mother was murdered. And they look to be like the same. and they're about the same age. They're both like in their early 20s. Well, back then. Now they're a lot older, but nonetheless, I don't mind these two as actors. They're not great actors. I doubt they'll ever win any Oscars, but they do what they have to do here fine. But they're fine for what they have to do. And overall, and I really like the show. I think it's entertaining. So yeah, that's season 1 and 2 of Supernatural. I'll just leave that there. Next up is a show that is on FX. It's an animated series that I think is a lot of fun and very funny, and that is Archer. And this is the complete second season. I don't have season 1. I would have gotten it if they had it at Walmart, but they didn't have it. They just had this one, and I'd already seen season 1. I hadn't seen season 2, so I bought this for $20. Very fun show. The guy who voices Archer is, I believe, John H. Benjamin or H. John Benjamin. I'm not sure. It doesn't say here. It's one of those two. A very funny show. The character of Archer, he's like this FBI, not FBI. He's like a secret agent. He works for a secret covert sort of agency known as ISIS. But he's like a egotistical, conceited, basically alcoholic asshole of a man. Just a complete asshole and egotistical. He's drinking all the time. He's having random sex with women all the time. But it is hilarious. It is a very funny show. And H. John Benjamin or John H. Benjamin, I forgot which one it was. He just does a great job with this guy's voice. So yeah, that's Archer season 2. Very solid show. Highly recommend that one. Now, lastly, the DVDs. First up, The Mummy. I would say Stephen Sommers. This is his best film. Not his best film. His second best film. His best film is Deep Rising. But I used to watch this all the time when I was a kid. My mom had it on VHS. I like the fact that they took The Mummy and they basically turned it into an action-adventure film, because mummies aren't really scary anymore. Maybe back in the day, but they're not scary anymore. So they basically turned this into like an Indiana Jones ripoff. But it's fun. I really like Brendan Fraser in this. He did a really solid job as the lead. So yeah, that's The Mummy. It's a fun one. Next up, the Terminator Special Edition. I got this version of the movie because this has the special features. None of the other re-releases had the special features. They were bare bones. Even the Blu-ray releases don't have these same features on them, which is too bad. I don't know why they did that. Why the hell did MGM discontinue this version of the film? They just released a bunch of bare bones edition DVDs. I mean, just re-release the special edition. You can still get this. It is out of print, but there's a ton of copies for sale on Amazon. And I did see the Other Voices documentary. I believe that's the one that goes into the full detail of the making of the film. And yeah, I mean, if you want to see these special features, this is the version of the film you need to get, because they're not on any other release. And Terminator's a classic, of course. Next up is a film. Got it for $5 at Walmart. I've heard some good things about this. Wanted to check it out. Game of Death with Wesley Snipes. Heard some good things. I heard some bad things. Gary Daniels is in this, and he actually choreographed the fight sequences. But I saw this interview, or I read this interview with Gary Daniels, and he said he was not happy with how the fight sequences turned out, because he choreographed the fight sequences, right? And he said that he was upset that he went through all that trouble to choreograph the fight scenes only to have, some editor in post-production cut the fight scenes to shit, and he was really upset about that, which, I would be too if I was Gary Daniels. Go through all that effort just to have the fight scenes turn out looking like crap, Um, Next up is a film that was a decent comedy. I remember I saw this on Comedy Central a long time ago, and I saw it for like $5, so I picked it up, and that is Airheads. Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, Adam Sandler. A very fun movie. It isn't incredibly laugh out loud funny, but overall I liked it. It's basically a comedic version of Dog Day Afternoon because these guys take over a radio station with fucking water pistols, but they look like real guns. But overall, it was a fun movie. I liked it. Next up is a very surprising direct-to-video action film. I had heard some good things about this movie and wanted to check it out. And overall, I had fun with it. And I got it for $10 at Walmart, and that is Sinners and Saints. Very fun direct-to-video action flick. I was really surprised by it. It stars this guy right here, Johnny Strong. He was in like the Fast and the Furious, the first one. I'm not sure who he played, but he did a decent job in this. Nothing great, but he did a pretty decent job. Most of the action is firefights, but they're really well done. This director, William Kaufman, he's working on a movie right now with Dolph Lundgren and Cuba Gooding Jr. called One in the Chamber. I look forward to checking that out. And the shootouts and the action is shot really well. There's really no shaky cam. It's rated R, and when people get shot, it's, practical blood squibs, no CGI blood. There's very little CGI in this, to be honest. And overall, this was a pretty fun action flick. If you guys can find this, it's definitely worth a watch. I was surprised by it. I mean, it's not great. I don't want to hype it up too much, but it is, for a direct-to-video action movie, it was actually pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised by it. Next up is a double feature. Lawnmower Man and Lawnmower Man 2, Job's War. Saw these for $5 at Walmart. I was always curious about these movies, so I figured, what the hell, for $5, I'll get all of them. Even though I heard the second one's not very good, but $5 for 2 movies, not a bad deal. Next up is a movie I got on Amazon, and that is Renegades with Kiefer Sutherland and Lou Diamond Phillips. I actually saw some of this movie once on HBO. We had a free preview of HBO for a weekend, and they aired this, and I saw some of the movie, and I liked what I saw. Didn't get to finish watching it because I had to go to sleep because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had to go to work the next day. So I didn't finish watching it, but I had a chance to finish watching it now. And overall, what I saw, I liked. I look forward to checking this out. It's a buddy action flick. So yeah, that's Renegades. Next up is another double feature DVD of Wanted, Dead or Alive, and Death Before Dishonor. I got this mainly for Wanted, Dead or Alive, but I wanted to check out Death Before Dishonor as well. It was cheaper to get this than to buy Wanted, Dead or Alive individually. And you also get this one as well. So, because Wanted, Dead or Alive is out of print, and if you want to get it, just pick this up. I got this pretty cheap on Amazon, and I wanted to see Death Before Dishonor also. So it's a win-win for me. Next up is a film. I already had this on Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray didn't have any features, and this special edition has some pretty solid features. It's To Live and Die in L.A. Special Edition, underrated crime thriller starring William L. Peterson, from probably best known as Gil Grissom on CSI. Blu-ray has no features. For some fucking reason, they didn't put the features on the Blu-ray, which was stupid, and it was MGM. What a shock. This has a really cool documentary about the film. It's also got a commentary by the director William Friedkin, deleted scenes, and an alternate ending. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to check this film out, which I recommend, this is a really solid flick. Pick up the special edition DVD. I mean, if you don't care about features, by all means, get the Blu-ray because it looked good and it was cheap. But if you want to check out the features, you got to pick up the special edition. And that's To Live and Die Lying. That's a great movie, by the way. Next up is probably my favorite Jason Statham movie, The Transporter, the original. Like the second one as well. The third one sucks. I was not a fan of the third film. I actually seen all three of these in the theater. This is a movie, really, I didn't really know that much about Jason Statham. Before I went to see this, I saw the preview for this on TV, and I thought, hey, that looks cool. So I went to go see it, and had a lot of fun. And I would say this is probably my favorite one of his. And it's too bad the third one was a piece of shit. I mean, I went to see the first two in the theater, so I figured I'd go see that one, but sadly, it was a shitty movie, but the first two are good. This one is probably my favorite, and then the second one and the third one just sucks ass. Yeah, I mean, this is probably the movie that really put Jason Statham sort of out there as sort of the next big action star. And next up is underrated classic, a film I never thought would ever get a release of any kind, let alone on DVD and Blu-ray. But that is the DVD of The Perfect Weapon, released by Olive Films. No features or anything like that, but it was nice to finally get a good-looking version of the film in widescreen. I picked up the DVD, but I'll probably also pick up the Blu-ray because I want to own as many copies of this movie as I can, because I really enjoy it. You know, Olive Films probably got the rights from Paramount to release this very cheaply. Oh shit, almost dropped it. You know, I guarantee you they didn't pay a lot for the rights. Paramount probably practically gave it to them. That shows you probably how much they care about that movie. But The Perfect Weapon, underrated classic. I doubt you'll be able to find it in stores because Olive Films seems like a very low-level company, so you may have to go to Amazon to pick it up, which is what I did. Next up is a comic book superhero action film that is very underrated. I saw it in the theater and really enjoyed it. And I'd never seen this version of the film. And that is Daredevil, the director's cut. Found this at Walmart for $5. When I saw it, I was like, I'm getting that. I enjoyed the theatrical cut of the movie. I saw that in the theater. Really liked the film. I haven't seen the theatrical cut in a long time. I have it on DVD somewhere over there. But I picked up this because I heard the director's cut is a lot better. And the director's cut's basically the R-rated version of the movie because they made Mark Steven Johnson cut the movie down for a PG-13. And it's too bad there was never a sequel because the movie made a lot of money, but they just decided not to do a sequel because I think I even heard Ben Affleck didn't want to come back because he didn't like wearing the costume. But for whatever reason, I like the first one, and it's too bad that we will never get a sequel to that. Instead, what we got was a crappy spin-off about Elektra, as if anyone gave a shit about her. Next up is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, one of my favorite Jim Carrey flicks. I saw the sequel first, but I saw this one years later, and I like it. I probably like the second one more because, like I said, I saw that one before. But I would call this one of my favorite Jim Carrey flicks, along with the sequel. You know, that was Jim Carrey back when he was still funny. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of his recent films, but they just don't look very interesting, at least not to me. But, yeah, that's Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. And lastly, I have Hot Shots Part Dukes. Got this also for $5 at Walmart, as well as Pet Detective. It's a great, fun sort of spoof film. It's basically a parody of Rambo: First Blood Part 2, as well as it's got like elements of Rambo 3 thrown in there. I would say I haven't seen the first Hot Shots ever. I've seen this before a couple times. Um, that one's like a parody of Top Gun, which, to be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of Top Gun. I thought that movie was just sort of okay. I actually have it on. I have the special edition, again back there somewhere, but was not a huge fan of Top Gun. It was okay, I guess, but I'll give that one another shot one day. But anyway, that is my DVD and Blu-ray update. Hopefully, this worked. If I really don't want to have to go through this and do it again, because if you notice, I don't even have that much energy in this one. I'm fucking up a lot because I had to remember half the shit I said in my last video. So yeah, I mean, thanks for watching. Hopefully this worked out fine. And next movie I upload will probably be Deadly Outbreak with Jeff Speakman. I remember Rambo Ref for Life. He had asked me about the film and what happened to it, because people were asking him about where they could see the movie, and I'm gonna upload that next. I've been meaning to get that movie back up on YouTube anyway, so yeah, that's probably what's gonna be coming right after this update. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you guys later, and look forward to Deadly Outbreak with Jeff Speakman. See ya.